Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nofar Imid Abu Qasim. My membership number is 263094. Today I will present to you our group presentation. Our group topic is population growth by fertility rate in Malaysia. Population growth changes the rate of fertility, mortality, migration and incompress the population. Population growth will change every year because birth rate and death rate always happen. Fertility rate is an indicator of the level of fertility and birth distribution that takes into account the number of children born to a woman over a lifetime or refer to as reproduction. Fertility rate takes into account the current age, specific fertility level in estimating no mortality during the reproductive year. TFR, or we call as total fertility rate, was measured over the 5 years interval, and TFR data were taken from international organization and national statistical data. Through TFR data, it can measure the total increase and decrease of population by year, and the data will be used to calculate current facilities and needs through population rates. The total fertility in the world is between 1.4 and 1.9 children born per woman. The highest birth rate is in Nigeria, which is 6.91 children born per woman, and followed by Angola, which is 5.90 children born per woman. While the country with the lowest fertility rate is in Taiwan, as much 1.07 children born per woman, and followed by South Korea, as many as 1.09 children born per woman. In East Asia, Malaysia is the 11th highest country compared to 20 other ASEAN countries, with the fertility level of 1.76 children born per woman. Through TFR data, the data obtained is not merely to measure the birth rate only. Even through this data, it can be considered the social economic trends related to childbirth by measuring economic and social ties, estimating birth rate with the labor market, identifying costs required per population, and identification policies need to be based on the fertility level and birth rates. Our objective is, first objective, to identify fertility rate and total fertility rate TFR by each group. Second objective, to analyzing the total fertility rate TFR in achieving the replacement level fertility. The last objective is to determine the replacement level fertility rate on population growth.
Firstly, we will discuss about identify fertility rate and total fertility rate by age group in Malaysia from 2011 until 2018. From this slide, we can see the table and graph of data age-specific fertility rate from 2011 until 2018. Through the data, the highest age of fertility rate is age between 30 to 34 years old, followed by age of 25 to 29 years old, while the age of 45 to 29 years old is the lower rate in total fertility in Malaysia. This indicates the highest fertility productive rate in Malaysia is women aged 30 to 34 years old. The reason why the most productive fertility at the age of 30 until 34 years old, it is because many couples now stay delaying their marriage due to several factors. For example, women nowadays has mostly continue their study to institution for higher learning and also the jobs market. So they spend more of their lives pursuing higher educations. The goal of a person to continue their study is definitely to have a dream career. When those women graduate, they will start to focus on their career. They will be more focused to improving themselves in their career. And nowadays we can see when women have a career, they will have a stable finances and cause them to forget the desire to get married. So we can see from the data of labor force participation rate. Based on this data, the blue line refers to the participations of the female labor force, where the orange line show the male labor force. Based on this data, we can see the female labor force participation have a highest increase from 2010 at a rate at 45.5 and increased to 53.5 in 2017. So we can see a highest increase in labor force among women nowadays. In addition, the highest cost of living is also the cost of many couples nowadays is late to get married. Therefore, not surprisingly, the highest fertility rate of nation between 30 to 34 years old. Furthermore, through the above data, the lowest rate of total fertility rate in Malaysia is at age of 45 to 49 years old. This is because at the age of 40, the fertility rate of a woman will decrease even in Malaysian society. Women who have birth at 40 years old is considered too old. Even according to study, pregnant women at the age of 45 and above will not have live births in 50 to 80% of cases. In addition, it is caused by menopause, which marks the cessation of fertility. Therefore, the relationship between age and fertility is one of the factors the decline of fertility rates.
My name is Ivy, machine number 262528. In this session, I'm going to talk about to analyze the total fertility rate in achieving the replacement level fertility. This is the table of the total fertility rate from 2011 to 2018. So, first of all, we need to know what is the replacement level fertility. Replacement level fertility is the average number of children born per woman, which a population exactly replaces itself from one generation to next generation without the migrations. The replacement level fertility is the rate of the 2.1 children per woman. So how do we know that the TFR is achieving the replacement level fertility? This is the graph of the total fertility rate and replacement level fertility from 2011 to 2018. The orange horizontal line represents the 2.1 replacement level fertility. So, if the TFR is above the 2.1, which means that the fertility rate in this year is high and it is good. If the TFR is below the replacement level fertility, which is bad because it is low fertility rate in this year. We can see that in 2011 and 2012, the TFR is above the replacement is above 2.1, which is good. But in 2013, the TFR is below the replacement level fertility, which is bad. This is because the rising living expenses and the stresses of fast pace of work, many people choose to not have babies. Then the TFRs go back to 2.1 in 2014. But from 2015 to 2018, the TFR started to decline every year, and you can clearly to see that the TFR is below the replacement level fertility. According to the Star News, basically an ideal family should have 3 to 4 kids. But unfortunately, most all couples choose to have babies is based on their income and financial affordability. This means that Malaysian couples are based on their potential earning power to choose whether they want to have baby or not, which if they earn more income, they have less financial pressure and liabilities so that they can afford their children to have a good future. In this case, we can conclude that Malaysia's fertility rate is getting lower and lower. So, what can the government do to increase the fertility rates? First, the government encourage couples to withdraw their EPF for the fertility treatment program. The government also expand income tax relief to the expenses for fertility treatment to encourage more couples having babies and reduce their financial pressure.
My name is Aisha Fikam Abdul Aziz. My matric number is 270583. Okay, I will proceed with the third objective, which is to determine the development level fertility rate on population growth. Okay, based on the table, we can see that it shows the total population, annual population growth rate, and the total fertility rate. For the total population rate, we can see roughly that the total population is increasing each year, even though it's increasing in a small amount. For example, in 2011, the total population is 29,000 and 62 increased to 32,382.30 in 2018. Okay, and then annual population growth rate. Annual population growth rate is the annual average rate of change in population size for a given nation, region, or geographic area during a given period. This is the ratio of the average growth in population size to the total population for that year, which is normally multiplied by 100. So based on this table, we can see that the total annual population growth rate is increasing as the total population is also increasing. However, for certain year, for example in 2012 and 2014, the annual population growth rate is the same, even though the total population is different as is keep on increasing. And then we proceed with the total fertility rate. For this is our ideal fertility rate is 2.1%. However, start from 2015 and until 2018, we still not achieve the ideal fertility rate, which is it's decreasing from 2% to 1.8%. Proceed with the second graph, which is it show the total fertility rate in comparison with the annual population growth rate from 2011 until 2018. Okay, from this graph we can see that annual population growth rate and total fertility rate are decreasing. However, for the annual population growth rate, the lower is the better for the country. However, for total fertility rate, the lower is the higher it is, the better. So that's mean, however, from this we can see that the total fertility rate is still higher than the annual population growth rate. So this means that any given woman will have a replacement for herself and her partner upon that, as the fertility rate is higher than the annual population growth rate. Can the fertility rate determine the population growth in Malaysia? For your information, population growth is affected by 4 factors, which is the birth rate, death rate, immigration, and immigration. So for this question, fertility rate cannot determine the population growth, as we cannot, as forecast cannot predict unvetted changes in fertility and mortality rate, as we cannot predict something from the births and deaths because it's out of our control. For an example, if on average woman give birth to 2.1 children and these children survive to the age of 15, any given woman will have replaced herself and her partner upon that. However, if there are numerous women of childbearing age and a relative small number of older individuals within a given society, the death rate will be low. So, even though the total fertility rate is below the development rate, the population may remain stable or even increase slightly. This is because of the number of women of childbearing age is more than the number of older people. So, it means that the birth rate will be more than mortality rate. So, as the conclusion, fertility rate cannot determine the population growth, as we cannot predict or forecast something from the births and the deaths. This is the impact of fertility rate on the economic planning. There are two effects, either is above the development level or below the development level. Okay, if the fertility rate is above the development level, this means that the population is growing. So this means it's a good impact for the developing country. However, for certain country, this can cause an overpopulation. Overpopulation is not that the number of the individual in the country, is the number of individual compared to their resources they need to survive. So that if the number of people is more than their resources, this can make there will be a scarce in the society as the resources are limited. Okay, this can affect their population as there will be a war or over energy scarce on energy supplies or other resources. Then this can affect the country. However, if the country is growing and their resources also have many, so that this can give a big impact to their country, as this is a good for them. And then if the fertility rate below the level, which means that the population is shrinking. So this means that there will be a decline in basic service and infrastructure because of there are less consumer for this infrastructure. And then the government also need to make a decision to take down this infrastructure to build something else that can bring more benefit to the society. And then this can also affect in the falling GDP, as there are more the population is shrinking. This means that the service that they need also will be reduced. So and then this will affect the the country in the economy, which is can cause a deflation and also unemployment. That's all for me.
I'm No Azrain, metric number 270469. I will present the last part, which is conclusion. The TFR is a significant factor in population growth. So, to maintain the population stability in a given area, an overall TFR 2.1 is required, assuming no immigrations or no emigrations. It is critical to distinguish between fertility rate and birth rate, which are defined as the number of live births per 1,000 women in total populations. In Malaysia, fertility rates start to fall year by year since 2015 until now. We discuss how fertility rate influence the population growth. The decline mentioned before is based on Department of Statistics Malaysia. There are few types of identification that are carried out through this discussion. First is distinction between fertility rate and total fertility rate by age group. Second is the identification of labor force participation between women and men. It turns out, women are more prominent in working compared to men. Look into the TFR in order to achieve the replacement level fertility. In a nutshell, the replacement fertility occurs at the TFR 2.1. It's happened if woman has children 2.1 on average, and these children live at the age of 15. Any given woman will replace herself and her partner after the death. We also recognize that fertility rate influence the population growth by 5 major factors. In addition, the fertility rate also has an impact on economic planning. It can be either above the replacement level, which is defined to help country develop, and it can be less than 2.1. It's below the replacement level, which can define as the population shrinking or decreasing. Data and numbers obtained can be used to calculate the socio-economy of Malaysian's population. Okay, this demographic can estimate the labour market population growth, recognize the expenses per community, and classify reform required based on fertility rate and birth rate. Okay, the percentage of population growth based on fertility rate is extremely useful to government or some major parties in order to increase economic planning runs more smoothly.